Hello, I'm NF Loser, and today we're going to be talking about the Ranger for D&D 5e. I'm actually a big fan of Ranger, but I understand that it's probably considered the weakest class in Dungeons and Dragons 5e 5th edition. And I haven't played any of the other editions, so I can't really speak as to that. What I can say, though, is I made a couple of revisions and I made my own version. It's still in the works, like I have the second version done already. But let's go over the standard Ranger features, and we'll talk about what's good, what's not so good, and then move on to the other stuff. All right, so let's start with you got all the flavor text. They're like, oh, they're hunters of the wild, and they keep people at bay. And I'm like, oh, I like all that stuff. It's fine. It's fine. Creating a ranger is fine, but let's go into the mechanical stuff. And here you go. At first level, you get favorite enemy, natural explorer. We'll talk about those right now. Then you get fighting style and spell casting, ranger archetype, primeval awareness, ability score, extra attack, all this good stuff. Another favorite enemy, another natural, another subclass ability. At 8th ability, you get land stride. And at 10th level, you get hide in plain sight. 11th ability, ranger archetypes. 12th ability score. Then another favorite ability, vanish. Then you get feral senses, and at 20th level, you get foe slayer. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? Okay, class features. Your hit die is a 1d10, which I think is fine. That's cool. Light armor, medium armor, shields, that's fine. Simple armor, simple weapons, martial weapons, that's okay. Tools, none. I feel like it should at least be one. Tool proficiency, give you a little bit extra. Saving throws, strength, and dexterity. I always found it a bit weird how you don't get. I would have figured it would have been one of them would be wisdom. I understand that they don't want both, but I always figured the strength and dexterity seems more like a fighter type thing. So or like another martial ability. They're useful. I'm not gonna lie, but I really feel it should be like dexterity and wisdom. But I do understand people would think that's too strong. For skills, you get animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. All those are okay. If anything, I think they should add a couple more options. Like I think the rogue gets 11 options, and you only get these ones. Like acrobatics should be in here, because like, yeah, I would venture most people, if they want to be a ranger and they want to be the foresty type like elf ranger, they want to do like backflips and then fire some bows and arrows and send their wolf after them. That's acrobatic-y. And then maybe a medicine one, like that makes sense. Like you're in the wild, you would know about like, oh, I need this herb to brew a potion to help people or whatever. Equipment, scale mail, leather armor, that's fine. Maybe add a chain shirt option. Just that way, like you have that would round it out. You can go like full, well, full for as full as a ranger can get for armor. Like somewhere in the middle where you don't get that much armor, but it doesn't go against your stealth checks. And then leather armor if you just want to go full stealthy. Two short swords. I feel like this should be two short swords, scimitars, since they're basically the same thing, or two simple melee weapons. It's okay. It's not great. Dungeoneers pack and explorers pack. I feel like that's okay. I guess a longbow and a quiver of 20 arrows. Yeah. Now let's get into the actual like features and abilities and stuff, shall we? Natural explorer. I think this is where a lot of people like this first ability and then the other first ability are what really gets people. You are particularly familiar with one type of environment, and you got to choose from all these. When you make an intelligence or wisdom check related to your favorite terrain, your proficiency bonus is doubled if you are using a skill that you are proficient in. So that's a little bit of free expertise. That's useful. That's nice. And then you get all these stuff. Difficult terrain doesn't slow your group's travel. Your group can't become lost except by magical means. And then when you are engaged in another activity while traveling, such as foraging, you remain alert to danger. If you are traveling alone, you can move stealthily at a normal pace. When you forage, you can find twice as much food as you normally would. While tracking other creatures, you also learn the exact number, their size, and how long ago they passed through the area. And you get another one at 6th and 10th level. This is okay, but the thing is, if you're not on your favorite terrain, this just sucks everything. Like, it's terrible. Like, even the part right here where it says, when you make an intelligence or wisdom check related to your favorite terrain, your proficiency bonus is doubled if you are using skill. That's pretty useful because you don't have to be in your favorite terrain. It's just related to your favorite terrain, which I like. But how often is you're going to be like, this cactus came from a specific desert? It's like, oh, my favorite terrain is a desert. Can I get a boost to that, or can I make a check on that? And it's like, yeah, and then you do expertise. But that kind of stuff, I imagine, is going to happen often. This other stuff is really useful. Once again, if you aren't in your favorite terrain, you're like shit out of luck. So that's why people don't like it that much. And I breeze right through not favorite enemy for some reason. This is basically the same thing, but you pick a favorite enemy for like the 5 people who don't know that. Yeah, I've mentioned wisdom checks to track your favorite enemies, as well as intelligence checks to recall information about them, which I genuinely like. Is like, that's just, I feel like an enemy check is going to be more useful than a terrain check. Not always, but generally, like, you're more often going to be like, oh, I'm find out information about demons. Fiends are a favorite enemy type. Let me try to recall history about it. I feel like that'll happen more often. You also get another language of your enemy, which is just always going to be useful. I really like that a lot. And then you choose another 6th and 14th. Biggest thing is that unless you're fighting a favorite enemy, this is all flavor, basically. Like, it's going to be helpful in campaigns, don't get me wrong. Like, oh, you're instantly going to, if you're fighting a fiend and the fiends are the bad guy of the campaign, it's like, oof, you're gonna start off a little bit better than everyone else, like knowing about them. In combat, though, that doesn't mean anything. If anything, the paladin, if you choose fiends as your favorite enemy, the paladin would be a better ranger than you technically, because if you're both like level 2 or level 3, the paladin can use their smites, and it's extra damage against fiends or undead, I believe, depending on the subtype. I'm not sure. And yeah, you could if they choose medium armor, or even if they decide to go light armor, and they fully lean into a dex paladin, they could be a better ranger than you are. I feel like this should give you a damage boost at level 1. Like a Foe Slayer, we'll get to that, but Foe Slayer should be part of this. And I know people are going to say, that's too much at level 1. I'll get into that when I get to Foe Slayer. Fighting style level 2, you gain one of these. I think that's fine. That's all great. If anything, I think I really like 2-weapon fighting, the idea of it. It's not great in this game. And it's really bad, especially if you're a ranger, because paradoxically, all the subclasses make you use your bonus action, so you're never going to, if you want to be a subclass ranger, like I'm hopping all over the place. But this is the one thing I don't like, because ideally, if I'm a ranger, I want to be 2-weapon fighting, because I like that idea. But you're just not going to be doing it much, because rangers, the design idea is basically like, well, let's put all their utility in their bonus action, which isn't a bad idea, but like, you're not going to be doing that 2-weapon fighting that much. Let's see. Spellcasting. This isn't great either. It's spells known, so you only, every couple levels, you just know a couple more spells, and then you can switch them out only when you level up. That's not great. The other paladins get to prepare spells, so they can choose whatever spells they want when they level up, which I think is a lot more versatile and better. I'll get into that later. Ranger Archetype up level 3, that's fine. That's okay. I like the 3rd, 7th, 11th, 15th. I think that's pretty good. Primeval Awareness is a cool idea, very thematically rich, except you have to spend a spell slot to activate it. why would you ever use it then? Because you're going to be losing a spell slot. They're very precious to you, and like uh, that's where you get your utility from as a ranger. You get your magic spells. You get a little bit of druid stuff. You get some attacking spells that other people don't get. And the idea is like, oh, well, you could do that, or you can spend it on primeval awareness, which I don't get because paladins, they get to use their spell slots on divine smites, which are always useful. Like they're uh, for any attacking rolls. This is just like, oh, you know where they are, but paladins can already do that with divine sense, and they don't have to expend spell slots. That's just an ability, and that's just a whole thing. You get an ability score improvement at level 4, then extra attack at level 5, which I think is fine. It's good. Another favorite enemy, it's fine, but no, it's. I imagine it's going to be more frustrating as the more you go on. Is like, well, I'm picking another favorite enemy, but I'm not doing anything about it. Like, I might as well be attacking a goblin if a dragon is my favorite enemy, and I attack, and it's surrounded by goblins. I'll attack the goblins more because I can actually take those ones out. Yeah, I really should be giving you a damage bonus. So, Landstride, 8th level. Moving through non-magical difficult terrain costs you no extra movement. I think that's cool. That's fine. You can also pass through non-magical plants without being slowed by them, and without taking damage from them if they have thorns, spines, or similar hazard. You have advantage against saving throws against plants that are magically created or manipulated to impede movement, such as those created by the Entangle spell. This is okay. It's very situational. The only part that's just going to be useful always is going to be non-magical terrain, difficult terrain, costing no extra movement. But even then, in combat, I feel like the most difficult terrain is going to be magical. Not always. Like, you might be traveling through a swamp, and that's where this is useful. But I don't know. And just the fact that Druid also gets this is like, well, I mean, Druids also get it. I mean, yeah, you get it earlier, I think. Let me check. Oh, only Circle of the Land Druids get this. Which is weird, because it's not that... And they get it earlier than you. Never mind, that's worse. I don't think this is a great ability, though. I mean, it's okay, but it's not going to be very often that's going to happen. The non-difficult, magical difficult terrain, that's useful, though. It's nice. The other thing is going to be not going to come up often, I feel. It is okay, though. Hide in plain sight. You spend 1 minute creating camouflage for yourself. You have access to fresh mud, dirt suits to create your camouflage. Once you are camouflaged in this way, you can try to hide yourself against such as a tree or wall as wide as you are. Gain plus 10 to bonus to dexterity checks as long as you remain there without taking actions. Once you move or take an action or reaction, you must camouflage yourself to gain this benefit. Not great. I mean, it's okay. I like the idea of it, but why not just cast Pass Without Trace at this point, or have someone else cast it on you, and everyone gets that, and instead you just get this, and it's like, yeah, you can scout ahead. It's like, well, yeah, but you can't be moving. You have to get there, put it on yourself, and then not move at all. And it's only a plus 10 bonus to dexterity checks. It's not great. I feel like it should also, maybe if your favorite terrain, you get advantage on those stealth checks in addition to this. So just in case you get like a shitty roll, it's not just an 11. It's like, oh, you still get you still have advantage. Plus, it's for 10th level, this is a bit underwhelming. I really wish this were better. Yeah, I have ideas on how to fix this. Vanish. Starting at 14th level, you can hide as a bonus action on your turn. You can't be tracked magically unless you choose to leave a trail. Yeah, this is, I think, a great ability. if you had got it like 7 levels earlier. Like, it's level 14, the amount of shit you would have to go through as a ranger to reach this level, and now you're barely getting this. Something that you could reach this level earlier by being 12 points. You could just you could be 12 levels into a ranger and then decide, well, I'm gonna put 2 levels into rogue, and then you instantly get the same stuff this gets, only better because you can also dash and disengage as a bonus action because of cunning actions. I have thoughts about this. You should get it earlier, or you should get more, or you should just get cunning actions, period. Because then it's like, well, you get dash, disengage, and hide. And then it's like, well, and then for people saying like, oh, well, you're stepping on the rogue's toes. It's like, yeah, but they still get it at level 3. 14th level, if you wait to get that long, then I think you kind of deserve it. Plus, seeing as how Rangers, with Xanathar's guide anyway, have all been prioritized to use their bonus action to really enhance their class, you're going to be having to decide all the time anyway. Another favorite enemy, and once again, this really sucks. If you know additional things in combat, that's not great. You're going to be going all these things and just be like, well, I know more stuff. Yeah, but you can't do more stuff. Feral senses. At level 18, you gain preternatural senses to help you fight creatures you can't see. When you attack a creature you can't see, your inability to see it doesn't impose disadvantage on your attack rolls against it. You are also aware of any location of any invisible creature within 30 feet of you, provided that the creature isn't hidden from you and you aren't blinded or deafened. I think I don't hate this ability because I like the idea of it. It's nice. I think it just can be cleaned up a bit more and just like simplified very easily, and I'll go over that later. Foe Slayer, you become an unparalleled hunter of your enemies. Once on each of your turns, you can add your Wisdom modifier to the attack roll or the damage roll, so not both, you make against one of your favorite enemies. You can choose this feature before or after roll before any of the effects. So you have to wait till level 20 to get what I believe should be a level 1 ability. And if your thing is like, well, level 1, you can't just have a plus whatever your Wisdom modifier is to an attack or damage roll, but it's once per turn. It's only 2 attack or damage you have to pick, and it's only if you're fighting your favorite enemy. So unless your DM is deciding to take a campaign entirely in one area, where you'll know the enemy types is going to be consistently your enemy types, this is going to be more or less useless, and that's a level 20 ability, which makes it all the worse. I really like Ranger, but it's hard with this stuff. And I really like the subclasses too. I like the idea of them. But some of them are great, and I really don't like that it takes all your bonus action economy. Like, you're just fucked. You can't do a lot with it. You're going to have to choose to use what makes you cool or what doesn't. And I'll go over that right now. So I'm not going to go over all the subclasses because I want to keep this short-ish. So I'm just going to go with the 2 that are in the player's handbook. Let's go for Beastmaster first. So Ranger's Companion. First of all, let's just say this. Beastmaster, probably the worst subclass in the game, at least by many people's opinions anyway. Which I think that's really sad because this is one of the coolest ones. It's the most stereotypical Ranger. And a lot of people are going to be like, wait, I can have a bear or a wolf as my companion? That's awesome. So let's go over the features. You gain a beast companion that accompanies you on your adventures that is trained to fight alongside you. Choose a beast that is no larger than medium and has a challenge rating level 1 or quarter below. Already not great. 1 quarter or below, you're not gonna have the best creatures. It's still not awful, but it's very limited. I think ideally this one, if you're gonna do a Beastmaster, it should work a bit like the Circle of the Moon Druids, because it's very equivalent, I would say, in that in one class you can become the animal, and the other one you just always have an animal with you and you control it. But anyway, you add your proficiency bonus to a bunch of its stuff. Point, if its hit point maximum equals the hit numbers in its stat block, or 4 times your ranger level, whichever is higher. That's fine, I guess. It's a bit low if you ask me, but whatever. Like any creature, it can spend hit dice during a short rest to regain hit points. The beast obeys your command as best as it can. It takes your turn on your initiative. On your turn, you can vividly command the beast where to move. No action required by you. That's great. It's just like, oh, go there, and then you give it a look, and then it goes there, and you don't have to use your action. That's great. I like that. And then you can use your action, not your bonus action, your action, to verbally command it to take the attack, dash, disengage, or help action. If you don't issue a command, the beast takes the dodge action. Once you have the extra attack feature, you can make one weapon attack yourself when you command the beast or take the attack action. If you are incapacitated, the beast acts on its own while traveling through your favorite terrain. You both move. If your beast ties, you can obtain a new beast companion by spending 8 hours. 8 hours, not 1, not 2. 8 hours. That's a whole long rest. Magically bonding with a beast that isn't hostile to you that meets the requirements. Don't love that. Also, if you're a beast companion ranger, I imagine you're choosing it because you want a beast that's going to stick with you through the 20 levels, because that's what you want to do. It's not like, oh, well, it died, time to get a crocodile or whatever that's in the swamp. That would suck. That I feel most people. I don't mind this being an option, but the way the mechanics work, your beast is going to die if you play standard player's handbook ranger pretty often, depending on the DM, because it's not the best. And the biggest thing I would say is that you have to use your actions verbally commanded to attack, dash, disengage, or help. I don't know why you can't command it to dodge, since if you don't command it, it dodges anyway. That's weird. Once you have the extra attack, you can make one. You should be able to give the bonus attack option from the start, especially since in Xanathar's guide, every single one of your of Xanathar's guides gives you an ability that your bonus action makes it so you do an extra bit of damage every time, just period, or at least once, and then you mark a creature and then it does damage. Since this is your big thing, it should be your bonus action to command it all, and that's when you get to exceptional training. On any of your turns when your beast companion doesn't attack, which just it sucks. You want your beast to be attacking in combat. That's what you choose your subclass for. Doesn't attack. You can use a bonus action to command the beast to take the dash, disengage, or help action. This should be a level 3 feature. It shouldn't be level 7. It's just so bad. In addition, the beast attacks now count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks and damage. This part I really like. It's in line with the monk magical strikes they get at this level, and the moon druid magical beast attacks at this level. So I think that's fine. I think this would be really great if it weren't for this suck-ass ability right here. Also, no dodge action again. They should just let you tell it to take the dodge action, since if you don't give it any commands, it takes the dodge action anyway. God, it's frustrating, really. Because this is such a cool concept. Starting at 11th level, when you command your beast to take the attack action, the beast can make 2 attacks on its turn, or it can take the multi-attack action if it has. Good ability, a little late, and once again, I feel like this should be earlier. And although, once again, if this were balanced better, this would be okay. This part, it's just really these two, really are just not great. And share spells begin at 15th level when you cast a spell targeting yourself. You can also affect your beast companion within the spell if the beast is within 30 feet of you. Like that a lot. I think that's great. Like just the utility of it. You cast Healing Hands because you're taking a bit of damage, and then your beast also gets that healing effect. That's great. Or if you cast Hunter's Mark, oh no, that's targeting yourself. But I don't know if you cast Haste on yourself, like, oh man, your beast companion would also get that. I mean, you wouldn't get haste, but if there was some, like, if you have a ring of haste, I guess, or something else that can target, or a wand of haste, and you do it on yourself, oh, that'd be great. Hunter, and this is the other player's handbook, and I really like this one. I don't think it's perfect, but I like the fact that this is really the only subclass in the game that I can think of where every subclass, every ability choice at every level is just like you got to choose what you want, and I think it's the only subclass in the game where they do it, like since or before. And yeah, it's not perfect, but I wish they had retune this idea, really attune this idea more. Because the only thing I can think of is Totem Barbarian, which is less of an ability and more like, oh, you just choose your spirit animal. Although it's still really good. And then Storm Barbarian, because you could choose what type of storm you want. Uh, I still like this though a lot because you get just to choose every single time, and it could be something different every time. And it really, it's a good. This is basically the fighter subclass I would say for the ranger. I think it's really nice. I don't think it's great. I think it could be better mainly because the Xanathar subclasses were so good. These can be updated a lot. Uh, but let's go over it. At third level, you got to choose one of these. Colossus Slayer, your tenacity. When you hit a creature, the weapon takes an extra 1d8 damage if it's below its hit point max zone. You can deal this extra damage only once per turn. I think this is great. Just out of all of these, this is probably the best one. And one of the big reasons why is because Xanathar's guides introduced 3 great subclasses for the Ranger. Like, they're some of my favorite of any class of any game. And not only that, but the thing about that is that they all really prioritize your bonus action. This is just a free action. As long as it's taken like 1 point of damage, you can use this ability on it and then use it again and then use it again. And it's just like, yeah, it's only once per turn, but it's going to be useful. Maybe it would be better if it's like the damage went up as you leveled up, but so far this is great. I think this is the best one of these 3. And that's a kind of a problem because when you go through these options, it's cool that they give you all these options. But there are some times where there are choices where it's so obvious that one is a better choice. Why would you ever choose the other ones? Like right here. When a large or larger creature within 5 feet of you hits or misses you with an attack, you can use your reaction to attack that creature immediately after its attack, provided you can see the creature. This one is okay. It's good. It's not great. It's just like, oh, you can use your reaction to attack, but only if it's large and only within 5 feet of you, and only if it attacks you, which I guess is fair, that attack part. But I mean, you can miss this attack. It's not made with an advantage, and you have to be able to see it. So if it's for some reason like you're fighting an invisible dragon or whatever, not the best. And then this one I really think is not fantastic. Once on each of your turns, when you make a weapon attack, you can make another attack with the same weapon against a different creature that is within 5 feet of the original target and within range of your weapon. I like this one. I don't think it's terribly useful because I don't think your DM is just going to stack enemies together. I can imagine wherein it would be useful though, and I do like that I think it's just free. When you make a weapon attack, you can make another weapon attack. It doesn't say bonus action, so if I'm reading this right, you use at level 5 when you get your extra check, you attack twice to a creature, and then you see like, oh, it has a little goblin next to him, 5 feet away. You can attack that goblin, I guess, because lets you make an extra attack. So down here, so that's okay. It's once again not great. I think Colossus Slayer is probably the best because it's the most consistent. Then at level 7, you get defensive tactics. Opportunity attacks made against you are made with disadvantage. It's okay. I really wish it would just be like opportunity attacks. You don't make opportunity attacks. That would be a lot stronger. Everyone would be like, oh, that one's really cool. And that's just like a great one. And especially since I think Tabaxi and Beast Hide Shifters have racial abilities that let you just like have disadvantage on opportunity attacks. So that would put it more on par and make that one a greater ability where it's just like, your movement just doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. It's much stronger. Especially compared when this one, where it's like, oh, you might not get hit, or you'll just get a +4 bonus to all attacks. Depending on the creature you're fighting, this one's just you just get a free shield for the entire turn against that attack. Yeah, not against every attack until you start your next turn. But it doesn't even use a reaction. It's just that. Wow. So that really is great because it's against all that, and it doesn't have a cap on it either. So like if you get attacked by a creature and it has multi-attack, then like, oh, you have a +4 bonus to AC to all of it, all of the attacks it makes. And then potentially, if you get attacked by another creature and that one also has multi-attack, you still, what's it called, have the multi-attack defense. Wow, that's great. That's just fantastic. I think that's just period. It might be better if it was equal to your wisdom modifier, because I think that would be just a bit more balanced, and it would be better because like at early game levels like this, like 5 to 7, you're probably not going to have a +5 AC, so it's going to be a little bit less than this one or the equal to this. But then once you reach like level 15, level 20, it's possible for you to have that +5, and it feels earned and not broken because, well, you have to put in the time and effort to do it, to get that +5 wisdom. And you're giving up the +4 consistently instead. So I think that's fair. That's the only part I think I might change. And Steel Will. Oh, what's that? You can potentially not get hit. Oh, you get a +4 to all attacks after you get hit. Or you could just probably not be afraid. Unless you pick a race or a feat or anything, or have a spell active, then this is useless. It should at the very least be advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed, at the very least. Or if they just want to go full in like crazy, they can make it like, oh, you get wisdom saving throws, which wouldn't be that crazy because samurais and samurai fighters and Gloomstalker Rangers also get that ability at this level, I believe. It's just, there's so clearly two better options right here. Then you go to multi-attack. And it's kind of weird that there's no third option. I think there probably should. Whatever. You can use your attack to make a ranged attack with any weapon creatures within 10 feet of you. Basically, you use your one attack to make like, this is nice. It's really like, oh, rain down a bunch of arrows. I kind of like that. But probably be better if but you still have to make you may have to make separate attack rolls, so depending on the creatures, you might not even hit it all. Overall, it's okay. Same with this one's more limited because you actually have to be in melee range. So what's the chances of there being like, you're being surrounded by a full like gangbang circle of orcs for you to be able to use this ability? And two, it's still separate attack rolls, so you still might miss. So it's not the greatest. You have to be surrounded. It's really not. This one isn't as comparable because like this ability, being surrounded by a bunch of them all within 5 feet of you, is going to be much more situational than just volley, where you can just hit any creature with your ranged weapon attack. So you can at least get like 2 different creatures within that attack, I would say. Hell, depending on the situation, these ones are both rendered useless with your extra attack feature, but I'm not going to get on that. Whatever, it's fine. It's not great, but it's what it is. And then 15th level, finally, you can get like a 7th level monk or rogue ability, the evasion spell. This is great. You should be getting it much earlier. Like, this should be a defense tactics option. Like, this is so late to get such a ability that like potentially you can just multi-class into a rogue and get this ability earlier and be better for it because you have that ability always on. And then you have stand against Trident. When a hostile creature misses you with an attack, you can use reaction and force that creature to repeat the same attack against another creature of your choice. This one is just not that great. I mean, yeah, it's useful, but one, you're gonna have to have 2 enemies, or I guess you can use it on your own friend. But why would you ever want to do that, or an ally? Like, especially since if you choose the giant killer, potentially you're gonna be locked out. It's like, oh, you can use giant killer, or you can use stat against the tide. Like, it's just the resources are competing with each other, and I don't think either of them are all that great. This one I just don't like that much, and especially it misses you with a melee attack. Wow, not even a regular attack. I mean, it makes sense, but it's just not the best ability, especially since there's such a disparity where like both it's not been made with advantage or anything that makes it like, oh, I really should be using this ability. It's okay, but a level 15 ability, it's not that great. Uncanny Dodge. When an attack that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use reaction to have. Why would you ever use this one when you have action to, when you can get evasion or uncanny dodge? Where evasion is just going to be always on, always useful, and uncanny dodge is going to be tails in a way are just going to be like, I want to say 90% of the time more useful than stand against the tide, because oh, I can have the damage against me just reliably, or I can, what's it called, make that attack hit someone else. And this is only if it misses you, not even when it hits you. So once again, not even great. Really not great. Yeah, not great. This is what I have to say about that. Uncanny Dodge much better. Evasion much better. I feel like evasion is really late to get though, because Uncanny Dodge I can see you, like the designers putting it. Okay, let's leave that for later because we don't want them to get it too early. That's pretty powerful. But evasion, you could put this at the defensive tactics, and I feel like that would be fairly balanced. I mean, monks get evasion at level 7 if I'm right, if I remember correctly. Like that should just be a standard thing. So let's go over now to my tweaked ranger. This is the one I made. And it's basically the player's handbook ranger. And you can go to GM Binder or Homebrewery or whatever, find it. I'll try to put a link below. And I try to just... I'm a fan of the ranger. Even with all those problems, I still like it. But I wanted to make something where everyone can just be a little bit buffed and always have that ranger just be useful. So let's get to the abilities. Right out of the gate, class features, 1d10, everything's the same right there. Armor, all the same. Weapons, all the same. Tools, same. I've probably changed that. Saving throws, strength or dexterity. Except for skills, you now have more options. Acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, investigation, medicine, nature, perception, stealth, and survival. Which I think is really good that you could just do it right off the bat. You have 11 options of just... I think this is the same as the rogue, and you still only get 3, so it's not too crazy. Let's go to equipment. You can be scale mail or leather armor, and then you get 2 short swords, 2 scimitars, or 2 martial weapons lacking the heavy property, which I think is fairly balanced. I think that's fine. I might change that around, though. I don't think that's great. But the point is, like, now you have a little bit more flexibility in what you want to get. And look at this. Dungeoneer's pack, an explorer's pack, or a burglar's pack. Because you don't have to necessarily commit crimes with the burglar's pack. It does help, but it has some things in there that are useful for just general ability. And now you also have a choice between longbow and quivertory arrows, or a hand crossbow and 20 bolts. Which is just like, oh, well, I don't really necessarily want the longbow, but I want a ranged option because I'm a ranger. Well, you can use the hand crossbow, and it's light, and you have your hand free, so you can have your sword in your other hand. Voila. Now let's go to favored foe instead of favored enemy. It's exactly the same. You get change it or anything, blah, blah, blah. And then additionally, once on each of your turns, you can add your wisdom modifier to the attack roll or damage roll of an attack you make against one of your favorite enemies. That's right. I put Foe Slayer in at first level. Because, listen, if you choose dragons or constructs or aberrations even as your level 1 favored foe, there's a big chance, I want to say, unless your DM's a sadist, you're not going to be fighting those creatures fairly often. So it's just going to be those things. But when you do fight them inevitably, you want to feel like you're doing a little bit better fighting them, that your favorite foe that you've studied all your life, than like the fighter or the barbarians who could probably do a better job fighting them on their own if it weren't for this feature. And even then, it's not too crazy because you have to be fighting them, first of all, obviously. And then it's only once on each of your turns, and you can only add your wisdom modifier to an attack or damage roll. Now, level 1, it's probably not going to be a +5. At most, it'll be a +3 or +4. So I don't think it's too crazy to give one +3 or +4 to one attack or damage roll at level 1 on a very limited ability that you're probably not going to be using all the time. I think that's more than fair. I'll be honest. I know some people disagree. I respectfully say to those people that if I choose favorite foe, ideally I want to be doing damage to that foe when I fight them. The two races of humanoid, it might be a little bit weird though. Like, oh, I'm always good at killing goblins, but whatever. It's not that crazy. I mean, paladins get like smites and auras and shit, so I don't think this is too much to ask for. Wild Explorer, which replaces Natural Explorer. So when you choose your natural environment, like always, except now you get when you choose your terrain, you get one passive bonus, and it's different for each one. So let's go. Arctic, you gain resistance to cold damage. Understand that resistance to a damage type might be a lot at level 1, but you choose a Tiefling at level 1, and you already have resistance to fire damage or cold damage if you choose the certain demonic princes. But the point is, like, this game's all about choices. Giving you these choices isn't that crazy, I think. Especially since at most you're going to have 3 of these options. At Coast, you gain a swim speed equal to your walking speed and can hold your breath for an hour. I think that's fine. Especially, I try to add a little bit more to the if you get a resistance type, typically that's all you get for when I design this. And if you don't, you get something else. Desert, you gain resistance to fire damage. That makes sense, I guess. Forest, you gain expertise and 3 ranger skills you are proficient in. I did have a little bit of pushback, and looking through it, it might be a bit much to have 3, especially at level 1. Rogue also gets that, but it's also only level 2, so I think I might change that to just 2 ranger skills later on. I will have a 3rd version coming out within a week or so. Grassland, your base walking speed increases by 5 feet, and you gain the ability to use the dodge action as a bonus action. Once you use this ability, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest. I like this because the 5 feet of walking line makes sense, I suppose, Grassland. And then the dodge ability is like, you get, for 1 turn, you get to be a little bit of monk rogueness. For only once, maybe twice a day, because it resets on a short or long rest. So it's not too crazy, but in that little, if there's a turn where you really want to be cautious and you choose the grassland, that's an ability you can use, and I kind of like that. Mountain, you gain climbing speed equal to your walking speed, and once a day you can cast Featherfall on yourself without expending on a spell slot. Once you cast it, you must finish a long rest before you can cast it again. I think that's okay. If you really want to be, if you really think this might be a bit too much, you can take away the Featherfall ability, but I think the climbing speed is okay for a mountain. Swamp, you gain resistance to poison damage and have advantage on saving throws against poison disease. Since poison damage doesn't come up that much, I thought I might add some more. Plus, it makes sense in a swamp that, like, oh, you're good against poison disease. And also, like, dwarves get advantage against poison and disease, I believe. Or just poison, I think. But the point, paladins are immune to disease. Monks are immune to disease, I think. I think this is fine. I don't think this is too much, if I'm being honest. And then, Underdark, you gain a burrowing speed equal to your walking speed, and once a day you can cast Dark Vision without expending a spell slot. Once you cast it, you must finish a long rest. I think this is kind of nice. Like, if you choose Underdark, you're an underground person. It's like you're one of those creatures from the Descent. So a burrowing speed is something really unique. And the Dark Vision is like, well, you're going to be underground. There's not going to be a much light. This is so an option. So, like, choosing a race that doesn't have Dark Vision, it's still viable to play a Ranger as one. Or you could just choose Gloomstalker Ranger. See? It's not even that crazy. But you can give the Dark Vision to someone else, so I think that's fine. It works good with Underdark. And then you get all the features you would usually get from your favorite terrain, like it doesn't slow your travel. But you also have a passive benefit that's always on, so you feel like, oh, I didn't just choose my favorite terrain and now we're never going to go see it, so it's useless. No, you always have something from that favorite terrain, and I think that's something you always want to have when you choose one of these. So favorite foe, favorite terrain, you always have something out. I think that's fine. And this is the same. Only thing difference is preparing and casting spells. Now you're a preparation caster, just like the paladin. I don't think that's too crazy. Uh, that's fine. Then ranger archetype, primeval awareness. Yeah, now it works like the the paladin's divine sense, where you can use it a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. When you finish a long rest, you gain all expended uses. It works a little bit better, and if it's you can track your favored enemies with it, because why wasn't that an option in the first place? I think that's fine. Here's a point of contention. This is an optional ability. I'll say that if you don't like it, you can just take it out. I gave the ranger primal smites like a ranger, like a paladin, which I don't think is too crazy because warlocks and paladins and potentially any other spellcaster can get smite spells. So the idea that a ranger can get into smite abilities isn't that crazy to me. And let me go over it. And you get it at 5th level, which isn't, you would have to, paladin gets that at 2nd level. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can expend a ranger spell slot to deal an additional 1d6 force damage to the target, plus another 1d6 per level of the spell slot to a maximum of 6d6. If the target is a creature type of your favorite enemy, all damage dice from your primal smites become 1d8 instead of 1d6. So it's automatically weaker than a paladin smite ability. But if you use it against a favorite enemy, it's the same level of power as a paladin, and you can use it as a ranged weapon attack. That gives you the option, because I didn't specify it has to be melee, because I think the idea of a ranger being able to make ranged smites makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, they're weaker than a paladin, but you can do them at distance, which I think is just like, that makes sense to me. And not only that, additionally, when you use your primal smite, if you or the target are in your favorite terrain, you magically restrain the target if it's of huge or smaller size, with a magical environmental effect. If it fails a strength save against your spell save DC, it's restrained this way until the start of your next turn. Which, seeing as how the monk gets Tiny Strike, and around this level, and the warlock, if you take the Eldritch Smites, then they can knock prone a creature when they use their invocation, or when they use their smite. I don't think that's too crazy, especially since it's in your favorite terrain. It just buffs this. But once again, I understand some people have problems with this ability, so if you think it's too much, just get rid of it. I'm just like, don't use this ability. I might get. A lot of people have told me that they don't like this, so I'm probably just going to get rid of it. But this is an option you could take if you like it. Yeah, it's there, because I like the idea of it, and I don't think it's too much of a crazy grab from the paladin, because they get it much early. They get it 3 levels earlier, and they're just going to be stronger most of the time. So I don't think it's too crazy to use this, but a lot of people seem to disagree, so it's probably not going to do that. Favorite foe, it works again, and once again, you get damage. You get your foe slayer damage on them, so that's nice. Strider of the Land. So in it, this is just a land strider, but I added a couple things. Your walking speed increases by 5 feet. You can dash in as a bonus action, and moving through non-magical terrain costs you no extra movement. Other than that, it works just like Land Strider. I think this is okay. I think it's fine. The 5 extra feet to your walking speed adds a little bit of utility, and you can dash as a bonus action. It's going to be something that's not going to happen often, because you're already going to be using your bonus action for a lot of other stuff as a ranger. But the option to have it is useful. And if you think like, oh, this is stepping on the rogue too much, the rogue gets us at level 2. Like, they get it at a quarter of a level you do, I believe. Yeah, they get it at 2nd level, you get it at 8th. I don't think that's too crazy. And plus, they get to sneak attack and all their rogue features on top of that. So I don't think you being able to dash as a bonus action is too crazy, especially since you're 8th level to do it. It's fine. Vanish in plain sight. So I combined Vanish and I combined Hide in Plain Sight at 10th level. So because having to wait 14th level to hide as a bonus action is very lame. This is still like kind of late to get it, but I think it's more. I feel this is better suited. I feel this is like like being able to hide as a bonus action on your turn. You can't be tracked by magical terrain until you choose. So that's vanish. And then in addition, you get hide in plain sight. And hide in plain sight is improved. I'll show you how. You can spend 1 minute camouflaging yourself. You miss it after fresh amount endures. If you are in your and here's the part I changed. If you are in your favorite terrain, it only takes 6 seconds or one action to camouflage yourself. You require only a handful of naturally occurring material, and you have advantage on dexterity stealth checks made in this state. Once you are camouflaged in this way, you can try to hide by pressing up against a wall or solid surface. I can even change that and just say, like, you could just try to hide. Because, like, oh, well, it makes sense. You don't necessarily need to be a solid surface. Like, you could be next to a bush, and that would give you... That's not technically solid. It has, like, a lot of openings, but it's a bunch of leaves. And I would say that if you have a bunch of leaves stuck to yourself, it would give you the bonus, too. I would change that, but anyway. Is at least solid. What you get a plus 10 bonus to dexterity, so that's all normal. Except it doesn't, as you keep the bonus to your checks as long as you move at half speed or less, so stealth speed. Once you move faster than half your walking speed or take an action or reaction, you must camouflage yourself again. Because the idea of just standing in one spot and then hiding yourself and then waiting and waiting and waiting is really lame. So I think that's just like, oh, you can move, but you have to move very stealthily. I think that's not too much of a given, especially since like rogues exist. They're already sneaky. If you have access to magic, you could get invisibility by this level, depending on what kind of caster you are. So I don't think that's too crazy. And then if you're in your favorite terrain, it only takes you an action to camouflage yourself, as stated before. It only takes you a handful of naturally occurring materials. You had advantage on dexterity checks made while camouflaged, in addition to your initial plus 10. So you get advantage on the stealth check, and you get your plus 10 bonus, which I think is more than fair because you have to be in your favorite terrain to do it. And it's not too crazy because Pass Without a Trace already exists, and that's great. So this is just a little bit extra. And you can move at your normal walking speed without having to camouflage again, provided you take no actions or reactions, and you use the hide bonus action at the end of each of your turns while camouflage, which I think is justified because, like, oh, well, you can move at half speed, or you can move at normal speed, but at the end of each turn, you have to have hide. But because you're camouflaged, you have advantage on it, and you have your plus 10 bonus still. So I think that's fine. No, you don't even have to make the roll. You just have to keep using the hide action at the end of each turn, which I think is okay. I don't think that's too strong, but once again, if you don't like that, talk with your DM. Maybe they'll keep it the same. Maybe they'll change it. I think this is more universally useful. Here's where things might get a bit tricky. Since I took out Vanish from the 14th level, I needed to come up with a new ability. And I started scratching my head. I was like, okay, what do I do? I can't give it this. I can't do that. And that's when it hit me. Warlocks get their Mystic Arcanum, and they get like 4 spells from it. They got 6th level, 7th level, 8th level, and 9th level spell. And I was like, whoa. What if you could do that, but with druid spells? And it won't be too spammed or too powerful because you can only do it once a day. And that's where Druidic Arcanum comes from. Starting at 14th level, your connection to the natural and spiritual world grants you a druidic boon called an Arcanum. Choose one 5th level, 6th level, or 7th level spell from the druid spell list as its Arcanum. Once you gain a level in this class or finish a long rest, you can exchange the druid spell for another one of 5th, 6th, or 7th level. You can cast your Arcanum spell once without expending a spell slot. You must finish a long rest before you can do so again. I think this is okay. I understand some people might think it's too much, especially since, like, oh, half caster getting this? That's crazy. But it's once a day, and, like, you don't necessarily have to choose a 7th level. Maybe you just want Bones of the Earth every round because that's a super powerful 6th level spell. Or you just want to be consistent and cast Wrath of Nature every single turn. So once a day, because you know that's a spell you like. So you can get this for free once a day. And I think that's fine. I think that's okay. I understand some people might feel that. I of the people I've talked to or of the results I've gotten, this one is kind of in the middle where some people like it because it's like, oh, you get to choose your spells and it makes you more druidy, whereas before you felt more rangery and fight. You felt more roguey and fightery with just a little bit of druid. This one puts a bit more druid into your diet. If I'm from my point of view. And I think it's not too bad. It's just once a day. That's the thing you gotta remember. It's once a day, so I don't think that's too crazy. And I don't think it steals too much from the warlock either, because they still get to do that 4 times this day instead of once, and it's fifth, sixth, and seventh. No, it's sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth level. So you could do that as much as you want, depending on the spells. So I don't think it's too crazy. I'm defending it a lot, but I like this ability. I like the idea of it. That being said, it may change later because some people seem split on this. I don't know. Favorite foe, you get one last option where you got to choose that. And here's where things get interesting. Feral senses, I exchanged it with natural senses. So at 18th level, you get a blind sight with a range of 15 feet and a tremor sense of 30 feet. If you are in your favorite terrain, your blind sight has a range of 30 feet and your tremor sense has a range of 60 feet. And I think that's okay because, like, you have to be within 30 feet to see your enemy in the original feral senses. And it was very. You have it. You can attack invisible creatures. I think this still gives the general gist of it while improving it, while also kind of making sense. It's like, oh, you're such a natural hunter that you can just sense the creatures around you. And if you're in your favorite terrain, well, I was like, oh man, well, you know something's there because the trees are snapped or whatever in a certain way, and you could feel the earth change because there's like a monster up ahead. I like this ability. I don't think it's too crazy, especially since we're getting up to this level. Like 14th level for Druid Arcanum, that might be some people might debate that that's too powerful an ability for that level. But 18th level, getting Blind Sense, Tremor Sense, and just a limited range of it, I don't think it's too crazy. And at 20th level, I changed Foe Slayer, I think it's Foe Slayer, to Foe Hunter. Once on each of your turns, you can add your Wisdom modifier to the attack roll or damage roll of any attack you make. You can choose to use this feature before or after, blah, blah. If the target is one of your favorite enemies, your attack roll or damage roll bonus is doubled, which I think this ability is great for a 20th level character. Once again, once per turn. But now you don't have to just decide, like, oh, it's just my favorite enemy, I'm not doing it. That's fucked. Well, I'm fucked. I'll just be a normal ranger. Now it's just like the mind sense is like you're so wise and such a good hunter that like any creature you attack, you know to like hit it good or hit it more damage, and you get that +5 consistently. But if it's a favorite enemy, you're even better because that's your favorite. You know all about that creature. So it's instead up to a +10 on one attack or one damage roll. I don't think that's too crazy. You're 20th level at this, and it's just once per turn, and that's once again the +10 is limited to if you have a +5 modifier, and only if you attack a creature that is your favorite enemy. So I don't think that's too crazy. I think this is limit. I think this is fine. It's once per turn. I know I'm going to get some pushback on it from someone. I think it's okay, especially when you compare it to, like, I'm thinking of the Paladin's level 20 abilities, and every single one is pretty good. And yes, it's only for 1 minute, most of them anyway. But some of them are just so good, like just period. Like, oh, for 1 minute you become kind of unkillable. Oh, for 1 minute you just do a ton of damage and you can fly and you're good at killing things. Oh, for 1 minute you just heal as much as you want and you're resistant to spell damage, and everything around you gets killed super easy. And within that 1 minute you can just end an entire combat round, basically. And this one is just like, well, it's more of a generalist thing where like you're just always going to be okay. You're always going to be okay. But sometimes you'll be pretty good instead of okay. And that's why I like this ability. Now, since we went over the Player's Handbook Ranger, I also tweaked some of the two-player handbooks sub races to bring them up to par with what I would think is the Xanathar subclass. And all the Xanathar subclasses gave you extra ranger spells, one first level, one second level, one third level, one fourth level, and one fifth level ranger spell. Like a passive ability that you always get, just something that helps a lot, and then one mechanical ability that's really good. So let's go over to what the changes I made to Beastmaster. First off, you get the spells, obviously. They're all beast centric, which I think makes sense. Like speak with animals, beast sense, conjure animals, dominate beast, and awaken. But if you want to go more into leaning into the side of like, well, I want to buff my animal more than I want to like speak to it or whatever, I would say like that's fine. Just exchange these ones with ones that work better for you, like Death Ward, so you can cast it on your beast. I think that's okay. I don't think the DM would complain about it too much either. And then Ranger's Companion, basically I changed it so it's not so terrible anymore. At least hopefully not. So choose a beast that's no larger than medium and has a challenge rating of 1/2 or lower. Then at level 7, the beast can be a CR level 1 or lower. And at level 11, the CR can be a level 2 or lower. And at level 15, your creature can be large and has a CR of 3 or lower. I know it's a bit weird where it's just like, well, yeah, but I want the same beast the entire time. Yeah, I do too, but like the player's handbook ranger just straight up says like, yeah, your beast can die and you can get a new one. And I don't like that. I imagine most people don't like that. But I know there's going to be at least one player who's like, well, I like the idea of that. As like getting new beasts instead of just keeping the one all the time. So I thought it would be okay with this. Plus, gameplay wise, I think it helps you keep up to par the more you level up. Like it does, like you can ask your DM, it's like, oh, can my beast like magically transform into one? And he might say, no, that's stupid. But he might be like, well, maybe. And now you have the option to level it up. And this is more or less the same levels that the Moon Druid, like what the forms they could turn into, which I think is okay. And as usual, you add your proficiency bonus, blah, blah, blah. Its hit point maximum equals the hit point number in its stat block plus your ranger level, or 5 times your ranger level, whichever is higher. I buffed it up because in combat, it's going to be, let's be honest, if you've played a Beastmaster Ranger and you're playing it in combat, like you're playing a frontliner, unless you're actively telling it, okay, dodge now, okay, disengage, okay, get away from this, you're not, it's going to be going down, it's going to be taking a lot of damage if it takes a lot of target. And worst case scenario, it like takes too much damage and it dies, and it's not going to have that much health. So letting you add at most a plus 20, or letting it be 5 times its ranger level. So like if it has a 20 hit points, at 5 times 20, you could decide to give it 100 hit points once you reach level 20, which I don't think is too crazy, because by that point, depending on how you roll, you're going to have better health than that. And then the biggest thing where if you don't want any of this, you want to keep all the same, fine, go for it. I prefer to keep it this just to give it more utility, but I understand. But on your turn, you can verbally command the beast where to move, no action retired, and you can use your bonus action to verbally command it to take the attack, dash, disengage, dodge, or help action. If you don't issue a command, the beast takes the dodge action. Once you have the extra attack feature, your beast can make one of the attacks when you take the attack action, provided it's within the range of the target you are attacking. I think that just fixes everything, or mostly everything, because at 3rd level, you want to be doing the thing that you got your animal, you chose your subclass for. And if you chose this subclass, it's to get your beast to attack things. So getting your beast to attack things at level 3 is not too crazy. At level 5, it can make 1 attack when you take the extra attack feature. And I think that's okay. I think that's just fine. I think it's okay. Everything else is the same. Now you can just do it early, like how you should have been. Level 3, Wild Bond. Basically, you can heal your beast when you expend a spell slot. So this is like how the Moon Druid can heal itself when it's a moon in its beast shape. If it expends a spell slot. At 20th level, the range expends 60 feet. I think this could be 11th level it extends to 60 feet. I just chose 20th for balance reasons, but I'll probably change that to 11th. Because like the idea of being like, oh, your beast is always connected to you or whatever, it's fine. And then any spells to revive your beast require no material components. I can already hear people going like, whoa, whoa, whoa. First of all, at level 3, a Zealot Barbarian gets that exact same ability. And that's not a beast companion. That's a player character. Second, you still have to have a person that can cast a revival spell. And you need to expend that casting spell, which, depending on what it is, like Revivify or something high level, like a 5th level spell, you're going to you're going to expend that use. So I don't think it's that crazy. Call me crazy, especially since most people who play a Beastmaster, I feel, are going to want to keep the same animal. They don't want to just get new ones constantly. And your beast is going to be going down a lot and potentially dying if you're setting it out in combat a lot. And then if your beast dies, here you go. You expel it from your service or is separated from you. Just if you're separated from the beast and you really want a new one, you can obtain a new companion by spending 1 hour magically bonding with a beast that isn't hostile to you that meets the requirement. If the beast is in a favored foe or in your favorite terrain, it only takes 10 minutes to band to it. So the idea of instead of a long rest, it only takes a short rest. And if you're in your if beasts are your favorite enemy or you're in your favorite terrain, it only takes you 10 minutes, so you could still take your short rest. I just don't think this is too crazy. I don't think this is too much either. This is just giving your beast a little bit of survivability, especially since it's going to be going down a lot. Bestial Fury. When you command your beast companion to take the attack, the beast can make 2 attacks. It can take the multi-attack action if it has the action. In addition, the beast attacks now count as magical. So this is just I made Bestial Fury early. You get it early, and you still get the magical attacks because at 7th level it makes sense for them to have that. I think this one, it might be a little bit powerful to get it at 7th level, but I mean, I don't think it's too crazy. Like, I don't think this would break the game or anything. It's just now you can make, at most, you can make 1 attack yourself, 1 beast attack with your beast as part of the extra attack. And then bonus action, you can have your beast attack 2 times. So at the most, you're making 4 attacks, which, depending on what other class you choose, like fighter, or if you have a hasted fighter, a paladin, or whatever, they're still going to be making the same amount of attacks, even more so than that. So I don't think it's too crazy. At 11th level, you get your share spell at 30 feet. At 20th level, the range expands to 60 feet. I think that's pretty good. If anything, the fact that you get it earlier is a game changer, because if you get access to like a crazy spell and you cast it on yourself, that beast gets it now at 11th level. Oof, this is bringing it up to par with a really good subclass. It's really good, and you get that ability early. 15th level, any spell that would fail if cast on a creature with intelligence higher than 4 succeeds on your beast, regardless of its intelligence score. The idea was just like, there are some spells that fail if cast on a creature with an intelligence higher than 4. And you may want to cast one of those spells on your beast. But one of your Beastmaster spells is Awaken, because the idea is like, well, now you have a super intelligent creature. Well, if you play Player's Handbook Ranger and you cast Awaken on your beast, well, now it's just not going to, the potentials there is just going to be like, well, I'm not going to listen to you anymore. Or, oh, that spell doesn't work on me anymore. This is just to give that little thing. Additionally, at level 15, you can add your wisdom modifier to 1 attack, so it gets your full slayer on everyone. And it makes kind of sense to me, because it's like, well, it's a beast. It's just like naturally good at hunting things, at least in my mind. So you can add your wisdom modifier to 1 attack or damage roll made by your beast on its turn. Once again, not too crazy. It's just a plus, at most 1 plus 5 to its attack or damage roll. I don't think it's too crazy. And then you also get, since this is all passive, you get 1 ability. When an enemy attempts to attack you or an ally you could see, you can use your reaction to command your beast to attack the enemy if your beast companion is within attacking range. If the beast is attack is successful, the enemy misses that attack roll. I think this is a good ability since there are other. I don't remember them at the moment, but I know there are other abilities where you attack a creature, it misses its attack on another creature that it was attacking, which I think this is okay. It makes sense because like, oh, now you command your beast to do it, and you're still using your reaction to do it. That's a reaction you could be using to do other things. Now we're moving on to the Tweaked Hunter. This is the Hunter subclass from the player's handbook, but I changed it up a bit. First of all, you got your spells, Hunter's Mark, which I was like, you're thinking like, well, you already get Hunter's Mark. Why would you do that? Well, yeah, but almost every ranger is going to use Hunter's Mark. You use this now. It's part of your spell slots. You can choose any other spells you want, and you're free of it. You automatically have it, and it makes sense for the Hunter subclass to have Hunter's Mark as an innate spell, in my opinion. You also get Spiritual Weapon because I think that makes sense for a hunter. It's just like, oh, you cast a spiritual bow and arrow and it hits someone far away or whatever. I think it's okay. I think it's not too bad. And it makes thematic sense. It's a powerful spell, and I like it. You use your bonus action, and it's non-concentration, so you can stack it with your Hunter's Mark. I think it goes really well with this subclass, and it works thematically. Haste is just a good spell, period, and I think it works with this subclass a lot, especially since this is basically the designated fighter subclass. So it's like you could just do more fighting. Guardian of Nature, since this is just like, oh, you get a hunter, well, now you can... this is basically the stereotypical ranger, like fighting in nature, man. So it makes sense to have this stereotypical fighting nature spell. And Hold Monster, because I think this makes sense as a hunter spell. Because I can imagine a hunting ranger just being like, oh, I'm going to hold this owlbear in place. And now everyone else hit it with arrows. So all Xanathar subclasses get their main ability, and they get their magic spells, and they get just a what's it called? Just a secondary ability at their level. So here's this one, and since the main thing about the hunter is that it's a choosy type subclass where you got to choose what you want, I thought it'd be cool to just make another one where it's free. Battle Stance. You learn an additional fighting style from the fighters list, not from the rangers list. So if you want to choose protection or great fighting, this is an option to get that option. And now you have 2 fighting styles. And given that this is the designated, I want to say this is like the designated fighter subclass for the ranger. I think this one makes sense. I think it's good. It's not too strong. It is a bit strong, I'll give you that. But it's not too crazy. Swiftfoot. You gain an additional 5 feet of movement to your walking speed. And at 11th level, it becomes 10 feet of movement. So this one just makes you a little bit speedier right off the bat, 3rd level. If you choose to play this with the tweaked, with my revised ranger, you're going to get a little bit of extra movement. If you're playing a wood elf or something else with movement, you're going to get an extra movement. So this just makes you a little bit of a flashy type guy. You get a little bit more movement. And Will of Steel, you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. But wasn't that part of defensive tactics? No. Now you get it at 3rd level, and it's better because it's charmed or frightened, so it makes sense. Just right off the bat. Because I feel like this shouldn't even be a defensive option. This should just be an option you get. And given that the other options are strong, I think this makes it more compelling. It's like, oh, now you could be charmed or frightened, blah, 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 and you have just an idea. So let's go to the Hunter's Prey. Works like regular. Your tenacity can wear down the most potent foes. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, the creature takes an extra 1d8 damage if it's below its hit point maxes. You can deal this extra damage only once per turn. It works exactly how it is because it's a pretty good ability and it really didn't need anything changed. I guess if you really want to bring it up to par with like the Horizon Walker, it could do 2d8 damage once you hit 11th level. But I mean, I might change that. But as it stands right now, I think this is a pretty strong ability, so I didn't need to change it much. Giant Killer. When a creature larger than you, within 15 feet of you, hits or misses you with an attack, you can use your reaction to attack that creature immediately after its attack, provided that you can see the creature. I think like if it's a creature larger than you, you can hit it within 15 feet of you, hits you with an attack. I think this is fine the way it is. Because the idea of it is just like, oh, you're good at killing things bigger than you. And I've deliberately put larger than you because, like, if you choose to be a gnome or something and a Goliath hits you with an attack, that creature's that's a giant to you. And if it's like has a reach weapon, it's going to be like 10 feet away. Well, now you could still activate it, and it makes sense because you're fighting giant creatures. They have reach. It makes sense for you to be able to attack them from a little bit farther than away. I think this is a little bit of a buff, and it makes it more useful. And then Horde Breaker. Once on each of your turns, when you make a weapon attack, you can make another attack at an advantage with the same weapon against a different creature that is within 10 feet of the original target and within range of your weapon. I think this makes it stronger. You get advantage on the attack, so there's an incentive to use it instead of just like, I don't know, instead of choosing Giant Killer. And it's 10 feet apart. So if there's a little bit of space, you could still hit that guy. And this one makes more sense because the DM is more likely to put a creature 10 or 15 feet away from each other than just bunching them up together. Most of the time. So this just makes it a little bit more useful. Now for level 7, you escape the Horde. You don't provoke opportunity attacks with your movement. Much stronger, and now more people are going to want to take it. As a result, you can move around and things can't hit you. And I think it's okay since it's a 7th level ability and you have to choose it against other strong abilities. Multi-attack defense. When a creature hits you with an attack, you gain a bonus to AC equal to your Wisdom modifier against all subsequent attacks made by that creature for the rest of that turn. For the rest of the turn. I think this is fine, especially since it's buffed by the Wisdom modifier. It might be a bit too strong because +5, always having a shield, always having against the other creatures. So if you want, just keep that how it was. I think it's okay because you're not going to get that +5 until later levels. Most of the time. But this is a really strong ability regardless. And if you're playing a regular hunter, this is the one you would be choosing most of the time. And what do you have here? Evasion at 7th level, where it might be useful now to have it. Yes, please. Because this is a good ability. Just to always have on. And now you have it at 7th level, especially since you have to choose against 2 other abilities that are also pretty good. It's a more meaningful choice, and it's good for the hunter. It makes sense. Multi-attack, volley, you make a ranged attack, and you must have ammunition, and you make a separate attack roll. You have advantage on the first attack roll. The only thing I added to volley and whirlwind attack is that you have advantage on the first attack roll, just to incentivize someone against, because potentially, if you use volley, you could just use your attack action instead of using volley and get the extra attack against the other creature and use it against the other creature instead of having to use volley or whirlwind attack. So this incentivizes you to be like, oh, well, I'm going to use my whirlwind attack because it's not, or my volley because it's not going to come up often. And then since all the other one had 3, I thought it was weird that this one only had 2, so I added this one. When you use the attack action to make 2 attack against a creature, you can make a 3rd attack against the same creature as a bonus action. If either of the first 2 attacks hits, the 3rd attack is made with advantage. I think this is just a really cool standard ability and super basic for the hunter. And it's just like, oh, you get a bonus action attack when you attack the other creature. It's just like, oh, you're really slicing this thing down. You're really eviscerating it. So this is just fine, especially since you're not going to be able to attack a whole group of creatures with the other ones. I think this one's okay. Superior Hunter's Defense. So we got rid of evasion, so what goes here? What's this? Primal Sense. As a reaction after being forced to make a strength or dexterity saving throw from an attack or effect that you can see, you can give yourself advantage on the saving throw. So yeah, as a reaction, you get Danger Sense from the Barbarian. Because this list is stealing the Hunter and the player's hand in the player's handbook steals a lot from the rogue, and it feels a lot like a fighter. So you might as well get a little bit of Barbarian. Just you can have a little bit of Barbarian just as a treat. Stand against a Triad. When a creature misses you with a melee attack, you can use reaction to force that creature to repeat the same attack at advantage against another creature of your choice. I would change this so I would say hit or miss, and you can just to incentivize you to use it. Otherwise, like it's not that useful. But you at least get advantage against another creature other than itself. So just like the idea of being like, oh, well, he missed, and I just hit my sword into him, and then that makes him swing into his friend, and it's at advantage, so it's super useful against that creature. And the idea being that, like, you can turn a powerful creature against its own allies, and, like, imagining a creature getting like fucking like, oh no, that guy, our ogre scored a natural 20, a critical hit against our orc leader that was leading us. What a shocking twist. I like that better than just like, oh well, you didn't get hit, you can make it attack another creature maybe. When an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to have the attack's damage. It's just uncanny dodge. I think it's choice as it is, so I just left it untouched. If something is good, it doesn't need to be fixed. Now let's get into some optional abilities. Before, this is just like a revision. These are things you can change for either the player's handbook or the tweaked ones. And the first option is, instead of using favored enemy or favored foe, and using those abilities and the passive abilities, you can just exchange all of them, period, with a passive benefit, with a language, a passive benefit, and a spells. So, once again, this is an optional ability, so don't go too crazy, like saying like, oh man, this is super broken, whatever. It's only there if you want to use it, only if your DM allows you to use it. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but just so you get an example of what this is like, I'll go through the first two. Aberrations. If you choose this as your favorite enemy, you learn the deep speech language, gain resistance to psychic damage, and learn one of the following cantrips: Encode Thoughts, Friends, Mage Hand, Message, or Vicious Mockery. And then you got to add these to your spells list, and they don't count against the spells you know. Command, Dissonant Whispers, Alter Self, Detect Thoughts, Enemies Abound, Sending, Hallucinatory Terrain, Phantasmal Killer, Banishing Smite, and Dominate Person. The idea being like, oh, I am so good. I've interacted with these creatures so much; they're starting to have an effect on me. I've studied them for so long that like I'm starting to develop features of them where I know how they work, so I can do the same thing. Let's go to Beast. This one was creatures like this that were a little bit harder because they didn't have languages. They don't necessarily have abilities that can change. So I was just like, okay, let me see what Beasts work, and I was like, oh, Pack Tactics. So if you choose Beast as your favorite energy, you have advantage on one attack roll per turn against a creature if at least one of your allies is within 5 feet of the creature and the ally is incapacitated. You also learn one of the following cantrips: Druidcraft, Guidance, Infestation, Primal Savagery, or Resistance. And once again, you get 10 spells to add to your spells list. Animal Friendship, Beast Spawn, and they're always prepared, always known. Animal Friendship, Beast Spawn, Animal Messenger, Find Steed, Conjure Animals, Haste, Dominate Beast, Guardian of Nature, Awaken, Commune with Nature. And if you don't like these exact spells, you can change it with something you feel is more appropriate. And I didn't just do this with the favorite enemies. I did the same thing with favorite terrain. So you get rid of your Natural Explorer or Wild Explorer, and when you choose a favorite terrain, you get a passive benefit, a cantrip, and your spells list. So for Arctic, you gain resistance to cold damage, learn one of the following cantrips: Frostbite, Gust, Ray of Frost, Shape Water, or Thaumaturgy, and you always have these following spells prepared that are thematically linked or known. Armor of Aethys, Ice Knife, Snylock, Snowball Storm, Warding Wind, Sleet Storm, Wall of Wind, Fire Shield, Ice Storm, Cone of Cold, Control Winds. And it's the same thing for all the others. Like, you get different abilities based on different things, and you all get you get your passive, you get your cantrip, and you get your spells list. And that's for all of them, and you get at most 3. Once again, I understand this might be a bit much for some people, so tweak it however you feel is best for you. Okay. This, starting from here, this is everything from after the tweaked subclasses for the Ranger is optional, but these ones are especially optional since I just threw shit at a wall to see what would stick. Like, I added Warlock Invocations for the Ranger called Wild Blessings, and right off the bat, I can tell some of these aren't balanced great. So this is just more of like, hey, this is an idea that I'm putting out there that people can tweak and do it better than I can. Because some of these are kind of cool ideas that I have. And someone could probably do it better than I can. So yeah, you get a bunch of options. And you could use these with either the tweaked Ranger that I made or the player's handbook. It's really what's up to you. And then I also had an option to tweak So instead of Foe Slayer or Foe Hunter, at level 20 you can get a unique capstone ability based on the Ranger Conclave or subclass you chose. So you get one for Beastmaster, Gloomstalker, Horizon Walker, Monster Slayer, Hunter, and I did two for the Unearthed Arcana and Stormkeeper. I'll just say right off the bat, I don't know if these are balanced or not. My idea was just like, well, the Hunter subclass was cool, so to change it up, what I'll do is give everyone a bunch of options and just let people choose two of them each. And then, what's it called? At the end of a long rest, you can change your conclave abilities to any other two abilities. Because I like that idea. But I understand right off the bat, some people are going to be like, whoa, this is crazy. This is too much. I can't do this. So, right off the bat, just like, you think this is too much? Talk with your DM and just make your own Ranger capstone. That's way better than mine because it's unique to yours and what you feel is cool. But the idea is like, hey, a unique Ranger conclave. That's super cool. I would have never thought of that because only the Paladin gets that, and I think that's kind of lame. Credit for that idea. I want to thank. I think he's on here. Grass Mike on Reddit. Like he did the idea for unique Warlock conclave, unique Warlock patron subclass capstone abilities, and I love that idea so much that I was like, I'm gonna steal that for Rangers. So thank you, Mike Grass. That was super cool of you. And that's it. That's the end of the video. I understand not everything is balanced. I understand it's not great, but I really love the Ranger. I really like the player's handbook Ranger, and I just wanted it improved instead of completely retooled, like with the class feature variants that are most likely going to come out when the new book comes out. I like the idea of it. I think it's cool, but I like the player's handbook versions. I just want it tweaked and updated, not completely reworked, because I like those ideas. I really want them to be cool, and I want them in the game. I just think they need to be a little bit buffed so you're up to par with the other casters. So in about a week or so, I'll probably update this list because I've gotten a lot of feedback since then, and I hope someone sees this. I hope someone enjoys it. I'll link a PDF at the bottom and everything. If for some reason you've been watching this entire time, thank you. I hope you liked it. Have a good day.